What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. It's Week 17 Best Bets. The season is nearing a conclusion. We hadn't so late in the year. Teams are resting players in Week 17, which is just wild. That won't matter for this show because that's Thursday Night Football, but we'll see about the Jaguars. We'll have to have that discussion as well. Joining me, speaking of Jacksonville, to give out the best bets for Week 17, Pete Prisco and RJ White. Gentlemen, how are we? What's up? Happy holidays.
Happy
You're
holidays.
All energetic. You're all energetic today. What's up with you?
I don't know.
He's got that winning weekend energy.
You finally had a winning week?
Finally had a winning week. I guess I'm excited about Sunday. I think Sunday's gonna be I'm hoping Sunday's a great day. I got a bowl game tomorrow. NC State playing in a very meaningful bowl.
There's no such
I just like
thing.
to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
It's that time of year. New year. What are you not excited? You guys tired? Come on. Pick it up.
I'm not tired. I just wanted to see you go on a rant.
Okay.
In your den over there, the wood den.
This is actually a sunroom.
Mahogany. We have a little mahogany in the back.
This is a sunroom. Thank you very much. It's actually hot as hell in here right now. The sun is baking in. Usually I'd be downstairs in my parents' basement, but they had to get the hunting supplies out. And so, parents' basement.
And RJ can attest to this. Winter is over in South Florida. We had 2 days, and that's enough.
Yeah, it was frigid cold. It got down to 40 something, and
Were the iguanas falling out of the trees?
The rest of the country was suffering with negative conditions.
Yeah, some of them fell out of the trees. Yeah, but the moral of that story is, RJ, we choose to live here. I mean, if you want to live in the cold, that's your choice. You want to live here, we live here. Warm.
Yeah. Hey, it's warm here. It's like 60 degrees now. The sunroom is baking though. It's like 75 out here. I might start sweating at some point. That's why I took off my quarter zip. It's feeling good, Pete. Feeling good. All right.
I used to wear quarter zips before they became trendy.
Really? I've been wearing them forever. I love quarter zip.
He wore him up until the day he saw Brinson wearing one. He said, "Nope."
And I took them. Then I burned them.
Hell, that's so loud in my ear. Pete, last week you went. What did you do? 5-1? 5-1. RJ 7-2 or 7-4?
7-2.
Okay, 7-2. Brinson 3-2. Womp womp. God, I have a
winning weeks again.
I have a winning week and I dropped I have a winning week and I dropped 3 games to you guys. It's unbelievable.
After the disaster last 2 weeks before that, we needed one.
And you're not racing us anyway at this point, so you're just trying to get your final record to where it is. But it's not like you were going to catch us anyway.
No, I'm just trying to get above 500. Only 2 weeks.
By the way, I went 13-3 with my expert picks last week.
I know we were talking about it on the podcast. We were very
that's pretty lucky.
13-3 against the spread is outrageous.
It really is.
I think the public went 13-3 against the spread too. Just kidding. We will get to this week's best bets, but first, a Week 17 preview.
Sunday, an NFL on CBS doubleheader begins with squads making their final playoff push. Then, all eyes on Lambeau when Cousins and the Vikings square off against Rodgers and the resurgent Packers. All hail Sunday. The NFL is on CBS.
Love it. NFL on CBS. If you're watching, you saw it on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, just so you know, you can watch on YouTube. All our shows live on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/pick6, hit the subscribe button, turn on alerts. You'll be notified when we go live. And if you're watching already, make sure and smash that like button and leave us a comment with your favorite best bet of the week. Let's get to our best bets. And we start in Houston. So the Titans and the Jaguars are playing in Week 18. That's the only game that matters for those two teams the rest of the year in terms of.
No, it's not.
Yes,
no,
it is.
Not.
Explain to me how it's not.
Because if Jacksonville wins the next 2, and the Dolphins lose 2, and the Ravens and the Steelers lose 1, and the Patriots lose to the Bills, Jacksonville would be a wild card team, even if they lost.
If you win the next 2, they will win the division. They will go in as a division, not as a wild card.
I'm saying if they win this week and lose next week, they would be a wild card team in that scenario. And here's the other one. If they, this one's really outrageous. If they both lose or win this week, or if they win this week and the Titans lose, then they tie next week, then the Jaguars would be the division winner too.
And the advantage they have is they'll know that. We don't know because we're recording on Thursday, but the Titans play Thursday. So they'll know that scenario for them going into this game.
That's true. And the Titans were a 14-point underdog to the Cowboys. They are sitting everybody, including the rookie quarterback Malik Willis, who was replaced by Josh Dobbs in the starting lineup. I mean, Mike Vrabel is basically handing the Cowboys the game and saying, we're just going to worry about week 8, or handed the Cowboys the game. If they won.
And Jacksonville's not, by the way. They're going to go play.
Do you believe Doug Peterson when he says that?
And I think they should.
Okay.
They're a young team. It's not like they can. It's not like they can rest guys to we've been here in the past. They gotta still learning how to win games. And so I do think they're going to play. Anybody who's iffy won't play. That's clear. But everybody else will play. And I look, history says this game is close. And I'm a big believer in that. Was it 9 straight? The Texans have beaten them 9 straight times. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Jacksonville, a lot of the time, doesn't take them seriously. Not that they're a good team either, but it's not like you play in a really, Texans team hasn't been good. Even when they've been good, they've struggled with the Texans. I think they struggle here. I think the Texans hang around, and I'm going to take Texans as part of a teaser and tease it up to 10.5. We had it at, 4.5, didn't we? So at 10.5.
Yeah, Houston's typically better than Jacksonville, though. This is kind of the first year that the tables are turned, and Jacksonville was a better team, although they were 7-point dogs in October and lost to Houston because they just can't get that monkey off their back. Like you're saying, Jacksonville's defense 25th in pass yards per play. Houston's lack of run game probably not going to matter because you can throw on Jacksonville. But Houston finally got its win last week that they've been trying to get the last few weeks, playing hard for. I don't know if they can risk losing the number 1 pick to Chicago now by going all out in this game. Jacksonville's offense has been hot, only scored 19 Thursday, but bad weather versus an elite defense. That's not bad. I think the line should be over 7 if we know Jacksonville isn't resting players at all and going forward hard. So I would lean to the Jacksonville side at 4 right now is where it is. Maybe a better play in the first half in case the starters don't play the full game for whatever reason. But if Pete's saying they're going to go hard, I think Jacksonville covers this game against Houston.
Yeah, I'm really torn on what they're going to do with these. And I agree with you, Pete. I think that Jacksonville should play their guys. You are a young team. You don't know how to win, so to speak. You're in a playoff race. You have all this momentum on your side. Trevor Lawrence is playing incredible football right now. Travis Etienne looks like the guy that they thought they were getting when they drafted before Urban Meyer screwed him up and tried to move him to wide receiver or slapback role or whatever the hell he wanted to call it. This is a team that's on a roll, and if you pause that momentum, and I know momentum is real, if you pause that momentum, I think it's hard to get it back for week 18. You're basically telling your guys, hold on, you don't have to try here. You can try here. Veteran team, maybe. Like Mike Vrabel, I get it with his team, especially how banged up they are, why you would do that. For the Jaguars, I don't know that you do it, but I think RJ's onto something with maybe that second half where if they get up 24-0, or like 24-7 even, I don't think it would be that crazy if they pull Lawrence and pull some of the starters and make sure that they're fully healthy going into week 18, knowing that you went out there, you played really well. And if you lose the game, I mean, I guess if you're right, there's a 2% chance they can get the wild card. So they do need to go win the game. But I mean, I think we could see them yank guys. That's why that first half bet maybe a little bit of a better look. Houston could certainly come through the back door. And you're right. I mean, it's a look ahead spot. The Texans stink. They've been they've been frisky the last couple of weeks, but the Titans are the team that the Jaguars care about dealing with. No best bet here for me on this game, but I think I lean towards the Jaguars. Panthers at Bucks. Bucks -3 over under 40.5. Essentially, this is an elimination game for the Panthers. They lose, they're out. If they win, they can win in week 18 and lock up the NFC South in rather improbable fashion and perhaps force David Tepper's hand when it comes to Steve Wilkes, Pete.
And I think they will win here. And I know I'm in the minority on that one, but I've been saying for weeks, I can't wait to see Tom Brady get it going. He's going to get it going. This is the week. He hadn't got it going yet. Their offensive line is putrid. And I think he's been affected by it. And I think Carolina can run it and run it and run it some more. And their defense is playing well. So I'm going to take Carolina plus the 3 points as a best bet.
I'm on the other side of this one. I think the line has come down.
I like it. Week 17. We're on the other side of games. I like it.
The look ahead was 7. It seems like the market's finally giving up on Tampa to drive it down this far, or maybe they're very impressed by Carolina's offense and boosting their rating a bunch by beating the Lions. But I think some people weren't buying fully into anyway. Carolina's offense, though, coming off a peak performance, they're facing a tougher pass D here. They're also not going to have the same massive holes to run through. I mean, they racked up all those run yards, but it was like just anybody could have ran through those holes early in that game. I don't know what the defense was doing for Detroit when they had played so well against the run. I don't know if that's repeatable for them to do against any team, particularly a Tampa Bay defense that's getting healthier. Carolina was also winless on the road before their win in Seattle in Week 14. So I don't know if I trust them that much going on the road in this massive divisional spot here. I was hoping to wait and see if it would tip to 2.5. I don't think it's going to at this point. I think 3 is the floor. And I think Tampa should probably be a little bit higher than that, probably 4 points. So I have Tampa -3 as the best bet.
Yeah, I initially was thinking Carolina. JC Horn now out. I think that's a pretty big problem for them. Also, I mean, it is like total buy low on the Buccaneers here. I mean, and you look at the Panthers, they've had several good games the last few weeks in terms of rushing the football, 232 rushing yards as a team against the Falcons, 185 against the Broncos, 223 against the Seahawks, and 320, a franchise record, which isn't crazy for a franchise with Christian McCaffrey, D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart, Stephen Davis, like tons of like really good rushers, Timothy Biakabatuka. But then they sprinkled in 21 rush yards against the Steelers, 36 against the Ravens, 64 against the Bengals, like alternating there. And the one difference is, we're talking about better defenses. And I think Tampa, they're not as good against the run. They're not that stout run team that they were before, but they can step up and bottle up the Panthers run game. If you do that, you force Sam Darnold to throw the ball around. I am actually going to go Tampa best bet as well. I think the Buccaneers get it done. I know we've been saying this for weeks. Brady's RJ closes his eyes in disgust.
He really did too. He did too, by the way.
I'm trying to think. You said Timothy Biakabatuka. I thought it was like Tishminga or something like that.
Yeah, we call him Timmy B.
Okay.
Timmy.
I was like Timothy.
It wasn't Timmy. It was Tim.
It was Tim Biakabatuka.
Tim, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, he's like, listen, everybody, if you get Biakabatuka right, I'm going to give you Tim. Okay? Like, I'm going to throw you a bone here with Tim. Carolina, look, I think we're going to see something from Tom Brady these next 2 weeks. I know we've been saying it all season long. He's washed.
What are you going to see? What are you going to see?
That's not my. I'm not saying that I think they are what they are. I just think that the line has come down too much. I don't think that Tampa.
I don't think the Panthers are that good a team. They're trying hard. They can run the ball occasionally. They won't hear. It will be a problem for them.
Hey, Brinson, would you start Tom Brady in fantasy this week?
Is that a trick question, or is that you have that situation you want to deal with it and you want to get the input from everybody here?
I would love to get everybody's input. I do.
Okay, cool.
I would not. I would not.
I would not either.
So I should start Teddy Bridgewater. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
You might need to get your money out to pay for being a loser.
I won my fantasy championship, by the way. Pretty excited. Won the hometown league for the first time since like 2015. And shout out, I think I mentioned I mentioned at some point. Shout out to Bob Brinson, my dad, winning his first ever fantasy championship, taking down me, my brother, all the cousins in the Brinsanity Fantasy League.
Well, maybe you could put a trophy on the wall over there with the rest of them.
There is a trophy somewhere. We don't know who's got it. Somebody, apparently one of the kids broke
me and RJ and you, we're in our FFT league. Not one of us is in the finals.
Not even close. Yeah. I didn't make the playoffs in another league. It was just that one, one home league, but it was worth it to win. So yeah, I would go. I think I'd go Brady over Bridgewater personally.
I would go Bridgewater.
I'd go Bridgewater too.
Okay.
We'll talk about that game in a minute, but they're dealing with a bunch of cornerback injuries in New England too, and I think they're going to have to throw because New England's going to score points against Miami. So
right. Well, we will get there shortly. But one game before we get there, Cardinals at the Falcons Falcons -3.5 over under 42. Colt McCoy will be back in the starting lineup. With Trace McSorley, as the sun beats down onto me here, with Trace McSorley now moving back to the bench where he belongs. This line is actually down to 3 on Caesars, -3, -120, but we get 3.5. That total's jumped up a bit too. I assume that's the Colt McCoy news. Pete, you back in Cliff Kingsbury backed into a corner?
There's only one game this entire week that has no playoff implications at all. And Brady Quinn is doing it, and it's this one.
What an unnecessary shot there, Brady.
I told him that yesterday on our big show. I go,
Look,
you realize
the thing is with the worst matchups, you got to get the best talent in there to make it exciting for people and pick it up. So
Really
only
good on the game.
a commentator of Brady's caliber can make this game exciting.
Don't let him hear this, but he's actually really good on games. But don't let him hear that, okay? Please. He would, by the way, typical Brady fashion, he wouldn't make a pick on this game because I'm calling the game. Come on, give me a break. My pick is the Atlanta Falcons. I don't love this game. Here's why I'm taking the Falcons. I think these two teams are actually pretty even. But when you look at it, what is it? Have you guys watched any of the Hard Knocks on Arizona? They look like they don't give a damn right now at all.
It's checked out, bro.
And so I think checked out team on the road, long trip. I'll take the Falcons. Not a best bet, but I'll take the Falcons.
Do you think if we had a hard knock to the Falcons, it would look any different in that locker room?
Yeah, because I think this team is checked out all the way. I think there's some major problems in that organization.
I mean, the GM left with for health related reasons, and they won't comment on it whatsoever. There's problems all over the place. I mean, ESPN's writing a profile about.
Go back and watch Hard Knocks, and you guys don't understand what I'm talking about.
Okay.
No, I trust you. I just don't know that this Falcons team's any good. You said these teams are about even, and Atlanta doesn't have a home field advantage. So the line at 3.5, I loved Arizona as a best bet. You have to worry about motivation for any teams like this at this point of the season. So that throws, a wrench in the gears there. So who knows what's going to happen there. But Arizona has the rest disadvantage and played an overtime game. So I think that is a good spot for Atlanta there. And Ritter looked better as a passer against Baltimore in tough conditions, but I still don't trust him. I don't think you can lay more than a field goal with a bad Atlanta team. I locked it in at 3.5 earlier today. It looks like it's now come down to 3 because professional quarterback Colt McCoy is under center, and he has played well with that Arizona defense. I think I like him more than I like Ritter, even on the road here. So I think Arizona has a good chance to win this game. But catching 3.5, I love getting the hook there. So I backed Arizona as a best bet.
Bad news, RJ. I like Arizona as a best bet too. Gave it out. I gave it out earlier today on a doing the radio.
Wow.
3.5 is too much for Colt McCoy. If it's 3, I wouldn't have taken it, but 3.5,
we talked about earlier before the podcast, Billy's trying to alter the records. And I think that Pete was paying him off so that he could win. Now I think, Pete's paying Brinson off to make my shout out my picks so he can win too. Pete just got a lot of money going around to everybody on this podcast to try to take the
bribing me to tail your picks. So
exactly.
They absolutely could bust. No, I just think, look, man, Arizona plus 3.5. Desmond Ritter is on one side of the ball and Colt McCoy's on the other.
Colt McCoy is Dan Marino. Give me a break.
I mean, he is in this setup. I think Hopkins could have a decent game here. James Conner may run the ball pretty well. It's just too many. 3.5 is just too much for Arizona. Atlanta and Desmond Ritter can't lay 3.5, so I will take that 3.5 as a best bet as well. Next up, the aforementioned Patriots -3 against. Minus down to 2.5 if you're looking on Caesars. The total that we're using is 41.5 down to 41. We know that Teddy Bridgewater is in for the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa out mercifully. I mean, he shouldn't play the rest of the season, if we're being honest. I mean, how many times can you go to concussion protocol before they stop letting you play football? Patriots down to 2.5, a little fishy though, Pete, considering we've got it at 3, no Tua in this game.
Or stop yourself from playing football. How about that? I mean, there's a possibility you could do that too. I mean, you got to take care of yourself. You got to be careful. But here in this spot, look, this is why they brought Teddy in to play in these kind of situations because in case Tua couldn't play. And I think Teddy's more than capable of being a good quarterback. The problem is they won't be able to run the ball against the Patriots. And that offense is predicated on running the ball. And that can, even with the corners banged up, RJ, I know that Marcus Jones is hurt and a couple other guys, but Jack Jones is out. That doesn't bother me because I don't think they can run the ball. So I think they'll keep the game within reach and get a couple turnovers of Teddy. I'm going to take New England to win the game. I think they win the game and cover this number. I don't have it as best bet, but I would take New England.
At +3, I have Miami as a best bet. At 2.5, where it is now, I would tease it. Everybody looking at this, it was a nice rally by New England in that game last week, especially the defense pitching a second half shutout. Defense is now top 5 in sack rate, interception rate. But you're right, Bridgewater is capable of running this offense. I already have the Miami power rating depressed with Tua not looking right over the past month from where I had it a month, 6 weeks ago. And so I didn't move it down that much with a healthy Bridgewater under center. And I think this line should be closer to pick 'em, even though it is a good spot for New England. I'm still not sold on New England's offense. The last 13 touchdowns New England has scored as a team have included 5 non-offensive touchdowns. So when you look at the box scores and their point totals, they look higher than they actually are if you just judge by how the offense is playing. But the problem is Miami's defense, when they go on the road, they allow 31.5 points per game, and they're 29th in interception rate overall. Mac Jones has thrown 1 pick in the last 7 games. So New England has the best chance they could possibly have to come alive offensively in this game. And so then it might come down to Bridgewater being able to operate that pass offense, which when you have those weapons and you have that guy calling the shots, I still like their chances to keep it close. So I'm surprised the over under is ticked down. I would have liked the over. I was leaning over anyway. So at 41, I might make that a play too. Not in our podcast, but just in general.
Okay. I got nothing on this one. I think that I'm curious to see how much of a downgrade the Teddy Tua situation is. I don't know that it's that much of a downgrade. I mean, Tua's been playing well, but it's not like he's just challenging everyone vertically and throwing it at really tight windows. I mean, he's getting the ball into Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle's hands in space.
The pass he threw to Tyreek the other day. If he puts that where it's supposed to be, the long pass, that's a touchdown.
They're walking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they're now, oh my God, what a great throw! Throw where you need to throw, and it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
But you could see in the second half there was clearly something wrong with him. And so look, I worry about Miami because I don't think they're very good on defense either.
I don't think they're making the playoffs. The Steelers and the Jets are taking their wild card spot.
Steelers.
Yeah. Hot take.
That is a hot take. You got the Steelers winning this week then, I guess. You got to get my best bet on them.
Yeah, I got a best bet on them for sure. No best bet here for me, but I lean towards New England. 2.5, I might take the Patriots. 3, no thank you. Too many points. All right, let's move on to the Browns at the Commandos. Commanders -2, over under 40.5. Pete, Deshaun Watson has not played well, and if you're people keep asking should you worry? Should the Browns be worried? Should they?
But if you go back and watch that game last week, he actually hit a couple shots to guys that dropped them. I mean, he had a touchdown pass dropped in that game. So he didn't look. They had a weird game plan. He threw so much, but in that weather. But I still think that he hit some passes. So I think he's starting to get there. I got Washington in this game because I think they're going to run it some more down the Browns' throats. I don't love this game. In fact, I had a hard time picking it, but if I had to pick it, I would pick Commanders.
Yeah, on the spread, I like Cleveland +2, but I made it part of my teaser for this week. So I'm teasing it up to +8 for the podcast. Cleveland's offense still scoring 1 touchdown per game at most with Watson at quarterback, but you're right. He looks like he is progressing. He's also had some tough situations. That first game's the throwaway, haven't played in 2 years. We knew he wasn't going to play well there. Most people figured he wouldn't play well there. And then he's had tough matchups or conditions last 3 games, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and then that win game last week. So I think he's going to get better. I think Cleveland should be able to run on Washington, and Washington's pass D just got torched by Brock Purdy, who looks like a good quarterback. Nothing wrong with Purdy, but talent-wise, Watson should be able to do the same if he is getting better. And Washington's offense downgraded with Carson Wentz starting. I don't know why they're going back to Carson Wentz, but that's what they're doing. And I watched him earlier in the season, and he should not be running this offense. So I think after replacing him, replacing Heineke with Wentz, I don't like Washington as much. I think this is finally the spot for Watson's first game. So I would take Cleveland at the +2, but teasing it at +8 is the first leg of the teaser is a definite for me.
That's a pretty good look on that teaser. And then there's a lot of good teaser options this week.
It seems like everybody and their brother is teasing Cleveland. Everybody.
And the Seahawks?
Seattle.
Yeah. Seattle and Cleveland. What could go wrong? Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson teaser. I actually agree.
I think our good buddy Nick Costas already said he was doing that this week, earlier in the week.
I am doing the teaser.
Get ready for me to slay you on it too later.
Bets this week, but I'm going to win my teaser.
Yeah.
Wagertainment. I came up with it.
I love Justice. We kid with love, Nick. If you're listening, you foul-mouthed, heinous voice-sounding Yankee.
Wow.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
You could have been talking about me when you said that.
Yeah. Well, maybe I was. Nick Senior. I want Cleveland to win here because I really want the Packers to make the playoffs for purposes of my long shot Packers NFC Championship bet at 100-1. Don't know if it's going to happen this week, but I think Deshaun Watson's played better. Certainly played progressively better over his first 3 starts, and then the win game. Man, you just got to throw that out. I mean, although like that is why you have to deal with that as a quarterback in Cleveland. Like you're going to have to face some win from time to time. But Watson playing well, and I agree. It's going to be really nice on the East Coast this weekend. It's going to be like 70 degrees in this game.
Yeah.
This is a breakout spot for him.
So your bet to get the Packers in, obviously they need to win the next 2, but you need Washington to lose 1. But you also are going to need the Eagles to lose this week because Dallas won't play anybody. Dallas won't play anybody the last week of the season.
Right? Why do I need to? Oh, you're saying against Washington?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, they'll be locked into the 5. So you that's going to be tough to win that bet.
Washington needs to lose 1 though, right? Giants
Washington needs to lose 2. Giants can lose 2, or Washington can lose.
What
1.
I'm saying, if they win this week, I don't think you need them to lose this week. You're not going to get help in that last weekend because Dallas isn't going to play anybody.
I agree with that. This is the spot. I need Deshaun Watson to go win this game. Hinging my long shot on Deshaun Watson. What could possibly go wrong? Next up, the Jets -1.5 at the Seahawks. Oh my God, what's that? Oh, we're going Colts Giants. Did I skip one? My bad. Nope, I didn't. Jets at Colts. Colts at Giants. Jets at Seahawks.
He's even worse than Anchor Man. He can't even read what's in front of him right now.
Yeah, it's the Giants and Colts in front of us right now. In case you can see it.
I'm just going what's on the rundown that I was reading. Colts at Giants.
Nick Foles, the greatest accident in the history of the National Football League, is terrible. How the hell did that guy win a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl MVP and outdo Tom Brady? He's awful. And I think the Giants are playing much better. I teased them. I put them as part of one of my teasers. I took the Giants at Pick'em. It was 6 when we picked it, so I took them down to Pick'em. I think they win the game. I'm just a little leery of laying a 6 number. But I'll take the Giants as part of the Pick'em. I just think Nick Foles is terrible. He's awful. And the greatest accident in the history of the National Football League, that is Nick Foles.
I laid the 5 with the Giants when it was 5 early in the week, and it creeped up to 6. It's down to 5.5 now. It looks like on the site. I kind of like the Giants still at that number. I'm only leaning to them at 6 at the number we're picking. If they came alive offensively in a good matchup, lost on that 61-yard field goal end of regulation, something that only happens to Giants fans over and over. Just ask them. Indy's playing out the string with Foles at quarterback. D has struggled in recent weeks too. I think Kayvon Thibodeau should feast on that Indy offensive line. I don't see Indy scoring much at all in this game. They did get screwed a bit on the schedule with 2 fewer days rest too, because the Giants played Saturday. Indy had to play Monday. Giants looking to lock up that playoff spot before playing at Philly and not needing that game. So it'd be a huge coaching advantage if they can just, it's a huge coaching advantage already, but then if they're motivationally, they need this game so they don't have to worry about next week. So it's hard to lay this many points with the Giants against any team, but Indy is a bottom tier team. I think the line should be higher.
Yeah, tend to agree. Indy stinks, and the Giants' pass rush is decent. They haven't beaten. They don't beat anybody by more than like a field. I think every single one of their wins might even be a 1-score game. But you can still win with 1 score here. Win by 7, win by 6. I would lean towards the Giants. Don't have it as a best bet. I think the under's probably a pretty good look too. You know, the Colts stink. Colts are terrible. They had that 1 win against the Raiders. Like the Raiders were just unlucky to draw them in that first Jeff Saturday start where they were motivated. And now this is a team that just can't get anything done. They got bruised and battered by the Chargers, and that Giants pass rush is going to get home. As Pete points out, Nick Foles, terrible accident, horrible quarterback. Boom! Is that Tony Cornelius?
Doesn't Nick Foles has a statue in Philly? They should put a statue of Doug Peterson for getting that guy to win a Super Bowl.
Competing audio drops.
I know, right? Just wondering how many times Billy can hit the boo button. I guess just as many times as we can say Nick Foles is trash. I don't know. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will actually talk about the Jets and the Seahawks. Next. I'm reading the rundown off of Slack. That's how I missed the Giants and Colts, because my password is expired. Expired. Jets -1.5 at the Seahawks. Over under 42.5. Pete. What's that noise I'm getting in my ear? Is that revenge game?
Is it the revenge game for Geno? Or is it the revenge game for Pete Carroll?
Oh, double revenge game. Oh, Seahawks are a lock. Lock it up, baby.
Wow. I like the Jets in this game. I think Mike White being back under center. will help them. Zach Wilson was terrible. And you know what was terrible last week? Their offensive line was brutal last week. And they're much better than what they showed last Thursday night, the offensive line. They were just really bad. The center was terrible. They were my spinning tops of the week this week. And believe me, there were a lot of bad offensive line play out there. So I think the Jets go in there. They'll run the ball better than they have. And I don't think Seattle's defense is that good. Geno Smith's not playing that well. So I'm going to take the Jets as a best bet at -1.5.
Yeah, the Jets getting White back at quarterback caused the line to move 3.5 points initially, which is a big move. I know Wilson's bad, but it's not like White is Dan Marino, to quote Pete Prisco. So it's a pretty big move. It's now come down a little bit. So Seattle was the move at 2.5. It looks like it's down to 1.5. Now I have the obvious teaser, Seahawks +7.5 with Cleveland +8 that you guys were talking about, because we had the lines were where they were when we locked them in. Otherwise, I had Miami in as the second leg of my teaser at 2.5. But Seattle's offense struggled against a good Carolina and San Francisco defenses at home before Casey no-showed. To Pete's point, it feels like the Seahawks defense has crashed, what we say every week, but they only allowed 21 to San Francisco and 24 to Kansas City. I mean, that's not awful. And it's a long travel spot for the Jets. They've done this the last 3 times they've had to go to Seattle and play. They've scored 13 points collectively as a team. Now, I don't like citing trends like that go back years with the people that aren't involved in this game, but it's just that thing about that travel going all the way across there. It seems not to suit the Jets very well. They do get extra rest from playing on Thursday, though. So I didn't want to take the Seahawks outright. I like Pete's lean to the Jets, but I wanted to throw it in a teaser, get it up to +7.5. I also would look to the under. Only one Jets game has gone over 41 points since week 5. That was when they played at Minnesota. So trust their defense here to keep it relatively low scoring, and look at the under too.
I like the Seahawks. And I'd like the Seahawks in the teaser too. I mean, it's a good look. Like you're talking about low scoring games with low totals, two teams that don't have like really explosive offenses, and just quick point. So with the Miami thing, you wouldn't put Miami because you don't want to waste the 3, the key number that you've already got. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, when we locked in our picks, it was 3. Now that the market's moved it to 2.5, I think Miami is a better teaser leg than Seahawks, is what I'm saying. Because I could see a situation where their offense can't do anything against the Jets defense if the Jets defense is at the top of its game.
Okay. All right. No, I was just curious, but I mean, like with the Miami, because Miami was 3, right?
Miami's 3 for our picks, yes. So I have +3 as a pick.
But you're saying like if you could redo the tease,
if you're listening to this right now on this podcast and you don't get Miami +3 and you're thinking, should I play it 2.5? I would say tease it with the Browns as opposed to teasing the Browns and the Seahawks together.
Would you like to switch your teaser to the Browns and the Dolphins? That's fine with me.
We're picking at 3, Brinson. We locked the lines. I'm not getting 2.5. I'm getting 3.
That's what I'm saying to people who are listening. Like you wouldn't tease it at 3 because you already had the key number of 3.
Right. 3 is a better number. You take the value with the 3. You don't tease off the 3 because you're giving up value. You want to tease at 2.5 to 1.5 because getting through that key number of 3 is it's much more valuable than just getting off it. If it is 3, if you're going to tease a lineup from 3 to 9, that 3 is going to cover more often. That it just makes sense to play the 3 than to tease it because you're losing some value on the teaser there.
That's what I was trying to ask in a I was trying to like get you to provide the smart information, not me being stupid and understanding that we have it at 3 versus 2.5. Sorry about that. That wasn't clear.
I'm like, no, I'm playing at 3. Don't take me off my 3. I know the lines move, but I'm getting my 3.
Yeah, you're like,
you're trying to get him to get off his line move.
Trying to shake him off his game so he misses these picks. I've got the Seahawks as the best bet. Revenge game.
Well, he's got you, or he's carrying you on his shoulders this week. Isn't bad enough for him? Come on.
Look, the Jets have the better defense. Mike White being back is a big deal. I mean, like they hate Zach Wilson. They play better they'd play better if like Pete Prisco was their starting quarterback, or Will Brinson, or RJ White. Like they would just get hyped up because it's not Zach Wilson. However, Seahawks shouldn't be dogs at home. This is a double revenge game, and it's like the loser leaves town game for these two teams. I think the Seahawks win the game, find a way to do it. Don't love the fact that DK Metcalf could be locked up by Sauce Gardner, but gonna have a big game. Geno comes out. Geno 2-0 revenge game so far this year. Gonna make it 3-0. Give me the Seahawks as a best bet.
Didn't you just say that you think the Steelers and Jets are getting the AFC playoff wild cards?
No, I said the Steelers or the Jets.
Oh, okay.
Because what?
No, you said the Steelers and the Jets.
I said Steelers or the Jets.
Oh,
are stealing Miami's wild card. The Chargers and Ravens. There's already 2 locked up. There's only 1 wild card left. The Chargers have a wild card spot, and the Bengals or the Ravens have a wild card spot.
I was just confused at why you're throwing the Jets in there as stealing a wild card if you have them losing this week.
Well, I think the Jets, or I think the Dolphins are going to lose out, and one of the Jets or it's a 1.5 point spread. Like that, I mean, I'm locking up the Seahawks. I mean, I think the Jets are like I don't mean they're going to get absolutely smoked. Like this Jets going to win this game. It's going to be a close game, but I would take the Seahawks as a best bet. Goons.
Jets by 1.
Jets by there you go. Jets by 1. I cover and the Jets steal the.
That's all I was trying to get you to say. Jets are going to win this game by 1.
There you go. There you go. On a Geno Smith pick 6. Vikings at the Packers. Maybe the game of the week. Packers minus 3.5. That's right. The 7-8 Packers are 3.5 point favorites against the 12-win Minnesota Vikings. 11 of those wins. It's 12 wins, right? 11 of those wins coming via one score. Just an absolutely unbelievable season by the Vikings. Entirely impossible to repeat, probably ever. Can't call it an impossible 11-0 because it's actually happening. But man, they are 3.5 point dogs. Looks like it could move to 3 here, a total of 48, Pete.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers. I think the Packers are getting it going a little bit, and the Vikings defense is still terrible. I mean, Daniel Jones did whatever he wanted to last week with little or no help on the outside. And so I think that this is an opportunity for the Packers at home to score some points against the Vikings. I think the Vikings will score too, so I'd probably lean to the over to make it a best bet. But I think Green Bay will cover this number and continue to push for a playoff. I'll take the Packers minus 3.5, best bet.
Yeah, it would have been a best bet for me if it was still 3. I gave it out at 3 earlier in the week on Sportsline, thinking it had to move off the 3. The line didn't really make much sense to me there. So the fact it is plus 3.5 minus 115 just might be some leftover from that more than it's going to get to 3 back to 3 at some point. So I don't think anybody lets that happen. It was another down game for Minnesota's defense, like Pete said, against the Giants offense that typically doesn't pass well. I expected more from the Packers offense against Miami. They kind of needed their defense to get some gift picks, 3 of them from Tua. To get back in that game. I think, but this is a bounce back spot against this defense. The Green Bay defense didn't play that well against Miami until they got those gift picks. They gave up too many big plays. Power ratings say it's around a fair line. Minnesota is just 5-10 against the spread in the last 15 games at Green Bay. So this is a tough spot for them to go out and win. And they typically haven't played outdoors in December much over the last few years. I went and looked into it. They somehow avoid these games a lot. They had to play 2 last year outdoors in, I believe, Green Bay and Chicago. Did not play well in either of them. Their last outdoor game this season was week 10 in Buffalo in similar conditions. They've had 5 home games and played at Detroit since then. So they're not used to going outdoors and playing. I don't know if they're going to be used to the situation here, even though it's not going to be that cold. I mean, it's like Brinson saying, weather's a lot better this week than it was last week. Can you imagine that team having to go outdoors after all this layoff of playing at home and play in those conditions last week? I don't know if they'd have scored anything.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that, RJ, because I was going to bring it up. If you look at the Vikings schedule this year, right? They have played here's their away games at Philly in September on Monday Night Football. It was not cold then. I think like 70 something degrees. At the Saints in a dome. At the Dolphins, Miami, never cold. At Washington in week 9, it was 71 degrees for kickoff there. Oh no, excuse me. And the Saints game was actually in London, but it wasn't cold anyway. The only game. Then they had at the Bills and at the Lions. Those are all their away games. Bills was 38 degrees. And other than that, they've been indoors or it's been really nice. This team, and I'm not saying that they live in Minnesota, so they understand like the weather. They understand what it's like to be cold. But I don't think they understand what it's like to get hit when it's cold or to have to hit somebody when it's cold. So far, as you said, they dodged these December games, these cold weather games. I think Green Bay is just going to make the playoffs. They're going to win out. Aaron Rodgers knows what's at stake. He's got that look in his eye. He knows he's got 2 home games against a Lions team that's suddenly kind of reeling and this Vikings team that's been lucky all season long. I think the Packers come out and go ham on offense. Big game.
Big Browns fan. Big Browns fan this week, Brinson is.
Big Browns fan. I got the Packers as a best bet. Packers minus 3.5. Obviously would prefer 3. If it gets there, jump all over it. I'll take the 3.5 though because I'm not passing up a chance to take Rodgers in the cold weather in a must-win game for the Green Bay Packers. All right. Rams at the Chargers. Chargers minus 6.5 over under 41, Pete.
Yeah, look, the Chargers can't charger themselves out of the playoffs. They're in. And so they can relax a little bit here. Maybe they'll actually let Justin Herbert throw the ball down the field some in this game to kind of get ready for the postseason. I think they do. I think the Rams, look, they played well last week, but that's a terrible Broncos team. I'm a little hesitant to lay 6.5 for a team in the Chargers that is capable of doing some really dumb things. but I'm going to tease the Chargers down as the second half of my teaser with the Texans. Make them minus a half. So I have the Chargers Texans as a teaser as one of the bets I'm putting in.
So you think the Chargers are definitely trying in this game, Pete?
Yeah, I mean,
going after the 5 seed.
Yeah, you want the 5 seed.
So yeah,
When you rather play, I mean, you rather play the 5 than the play the 4 than the 3
seed,
for sure.
The 5 seed is huge in the NFC. It's enormous in the AFC.
Right,
because you're
Yeah,
dodging,
because you're either going to be playing the Bengals or the Ravens on the road,
or the Bills, or just
if you're the 6 or 7 seed, you're getting the Chiefs, Bengals, or
right.
like, yeah, 5 seed is huge. You get the 4 seed, and you get a much better chance of advancing.
So that was my question. Do you risk injury and go all out, going after seeding because the matchup advantage is so massive there? Or do you take some time, rest players, make sure you don't get somebody hurt? I think if they're trying, this line is way too low, even without home field advantage. Obviously, both these teams play in that stadium, so there's no real home field advantage here, even less so than there are usually for Chargers games. You don't even get the travel for the other team. They're in that stadium.
You know what I said the other day, RJ? I said that some of the Steeler fans are going to end up showing up just to make it feel like a Chargers-Rams home game.
Right. Yeah. So look ahead was 9. I think that was close to the right number. I think the Rams blowing out a bad Denver team doesn't warrant the move. Rams defense is better at defending the run than the pass. So we know Chargers aren't going to run much anyway. So I think that works into the Chargers' advantage. The Chargers defense has been playing better over the last 3 weeks. And with the Rams offense is pinball back and forth to being really good or real bad. So I mean, we could get the bad version, I think, at this point. So I think they don't rest players either. I think they go for the 5 seed. I think this line's too low, but because it is the Chargers, I don't want to lay too many points. So it's just a really strong lean at this point at 6.5.
Yeah, I like the Chargers in this spot as well. I'm not going to make it a best bet, but again, we can't overstate it enough. The 5 seed is enormous. They will be playing a little bit more loose. They looked. Indy stinks, but and the Chargers didn't look awesome on offense. I mean, you could see. I thought that Justin Herbert looked a lot better than the in-box score showed, and Keenan Allen. All the weapons being back healthy makes a huge difference. Chargers could obliterate the Rams here. The Rams just don't have the players. They're resting their players to just get on to 2023. Baker Mayfield's been impressive. We'll see how much that plays into the future, but yeah, the Chargers could, if they play everybody and they're trying here. 6.5 is a good look. I just don't think we can be 100% convinced that they're doing that because Brandon Staley has been very aggressive about resting guys in the past.
But I will point out that the total has moved up 2 points. So maybe there is some indication that they are going to go out offensively because it was 41. Now it's 43.
That's a good call there. That might be a good DFS spot to attack too if people are staying away from that game. Steelers at the Ravens. Ravens minus 2.5 over under 35, Pete, in this AFC North slugfest between Pickett.
Well, it's understandable because both defenses are playing good football, and I think that when you look at both offenses, neither one of them is playing good football, so that makes a lot of sense. But in that kind of scenario, I'm going to take the Steelers as part of a teaser. I'll close it out as a Steelers-Giants teaser. I'll take them with the 8.5 because I just don't see the Ravens blowing them out. I don't see that happening. The way they're constructed right now on offense, I don't see them blowing the Steelers out. They might win the game, but I think the Steelers will hang around in it, and I'm going to take the 8.5 as part of my teaser.
It's a great teaser leg in such a low scoring game. I commend Pete for that. I couldn't do it because I do see a scenario where the Ravens can win by 10. It seems like they're not playing very well, but I think they actually are playing pretty good, and I wanted to make them a best bet at minus 2.5. Pittsburgh's defense big game was expected against Derek Carr in the cold. Couldn't stop the Baltimore run game in Week 14, however. Baltimore rushed for over 200 yards in that game, and then in the 2 weeks since, they've kept it up. They're averaging basically 200 yards per game over their last 3, playing at an elite level, running the ball. Baltimore's defense third in rush yards per play and second on third down. Pittsburgh's been really strong in both those areas offensively, and if Baltimore's defense is locking those two down, it's going to be really hard, I think, for Pittsburgh to score points. Baltimore, they were unlucky to score 3 at Cleveland. You look at that game, blocked field goal, rare missed field goal, and 2 turnovers inside field goal range. They were inside field goal range 5 times, and they scored 3 points. That's not typical for that type of game. Only other loss since Week 6 was by 1 on the road to the surging Jacksonville team that needed the Trevor Lawrence, signature game that everybody's going to talk about for years now. That's his coming out party there, and that's the only loss that they've had besides that ugly Cleveland game. So even if Lamar isn't back, if Lamar is back, this line should be a lot higher. But even if he's not back, I think that the 2.5 is fine. I like playing Baltimore at that number because I think they win this game by at least 3.
This line is reflective of him not playing.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, hey, do you think that Lamar is going to skip? Do you think he's skipping for contractual reasons at all? Or like,
Well, there's some. The team sounds like they're hinting at it, didn't they? Didn't you
Did
see
they?
little hints? Yeah, there's people are saying that. I don't believe it.
People are talking.
I mean, in the thick of a play, I can't imagine he'd be
He
doing
would-
that.
In the playoffs, he wouldn't do that. Yeah, I just think.
I don't think he would do it. I don't think he
Well,
would.
right
do it
now, in the thick of a playoff race.
No, hell
can't
no.
do
He's
I don't-
too
I don't-
competitive. He's too competitive. He's too good a football player. I don't buy it at all.
I think he
Zero.
wouldn't. I think he wouldn't come back. Like they're in the playoffs. Like I think he would. I don't.
They
I
can
think
win
he
the
would-
division.
I know, but like you'd rather have a fully healthy Lamar and like you're gonna be on the road. And I mean, you're gonna be playing a wild card weekend anyway. Like you're not getting the 1 seed. Of course, you want to win the
But
division.
you'd rather be at home.
Yeah, but would you rather be on the road with a fully healthy Lamar or at home with like a 75% Lamar?
Here's what you'd have to say too. If you're the 5 seed, would you rather be the 5 seed playing Jacksonville or the 6
3
seed
seed playing the
7
Chargers.
Yeah, the 3 seed playing the Chargers.
Probably the 5 seed playing Jacksonville. Might have just many fans.
You'd be
I am not
Huh?
scared of the Chargers at all in the playoffs.
you'd
just
be
with their
home
history,
though. That's the biggest difference. You're home. You want to play home.
right? But I'm saying, like, I would
go
not mind playing the
home.
Chargers in the playoffs at all,
I would.
Yeah,
I don't. I think
especially as an
I'm with you.
outdoors team. With that,
I'm
team.
with you, RJ.
Chargers in Baltimore or in Cincinnati in round 1. Bah! All right, moving along. I don't have the Steelers as the best bet. I don't think.
You said earlier you did.
All right, fine. I'll make the Steelers the best bet. Go ahead, head to head with RJ.
Thank you. Finally,
Maybe I'll take. Well, should I flip flop and take the Ravens?
No, don't do it to him.
The Bills -1 at the Bengals. Monday Night Football. This game over under 49.5. Awesome game. Game of the week. Insane playoff ramifications. Pretty big MVP ramifications too. Massive seeding ramifications. A real like Cincy like sort of like an appetizer for what we might see in the playoffs. And by the way, the final game of a lot of fantasy championship seasons and like every best ball tournament featuring Burrow, Allen, Diggs, Davis, Higgins, Jamar Chase, like Joe Mixon, Devin, like so many people.
Trenton Irwin.
That's Trenton Irwin, Nyheim Hines. Huge game here, Pete.
You know, it's amazing. I think I saw somewhere today where it's the most wins ever on a Monday Night Football game.
That's a good stat.
Yeah, most wins ever for a Monday Night Football game, which is incredible. But these two teams, and you know, you remember back in you probably I don't know if you remember the Giants and 49ers played a monster Monday night game in San Francisco years ago when Bavaro had that rumbling touchdown against the 49ers. They were both 10-1, 9-1, 10-1. And we've seen some when the Rams played the Chiefs, weren't they both? Didn't they both have really good records at that when they played at one year?
Yeah, but I think it
did.
was pretty early in the season. It was like middle.
Yeah,
season.
that's right.
Yeah.
But this is the most. I saw this. I don't know if that's a fact, but I saw it somewhere where it says it's the most wins
Right.
ever for a Monday night game. So
we
I'll
never
take-
have a Monday night game in Week 17 up until the last
Yeah.
year. So
But you also don't usually get these two teams of this caliber playing late in the season either, because usually sometimes they're division games or whatever. But I'm going to take Buffalo. I think they're the better team. Look, I love Cincinnati, what they've done. I think their offense is very good. Defensively, they're much improved. But I'm taking the Bills. I think even though they're playing back-to-back road games, I think they're the better team. This isn't a long trip. And they're running the ball last week. That was important for them. They proved they could do it. Now, the Bears aren't good. But when you run for 254, I don't care who it is. And Josh Allen didn't have to do it. So I'll take Buffalo minus the point as the best bet.
Yeah, Buffalo's offense has an elite pass game, as everybody knows. Now they are number 1 in rush yards per play, to Pete's point, after that game. And they're number 1 on third down, too. So they did get it all done offensively. They finally look like a number 1 seed at Chicago, but it took a little time. That game was relatively close. I think it was an 8-point game, and they scored like 2 touchdowns in the last 4 or 5 minutes and just out of nowhere. So Cincinnati collapsed in the second half for once, typically since he's doing the rallying in the second half and locking people down in the second half. So we'll see if they can turn that around. My problem with Cincy's offense, they're not that much of a threat in the run game, and I think it's tough to beat Buffalo's defense without both the run and pass threat. So we'll see if they can get something going in the run game here. The reason I can't play the Bills is because since he's 12-1 against the spread in their last 13 games, winning all these games, they shouldn't be dogs at home to anyone, even the Bills team. If you think the Bills are the best team in the league, they're not that much further ahead of the Bengals. You throw in home field prime time, I just can't see making Cincy underdog. So I would play Cincy if I was going to play this one.
I got Cincy as the best bet. Bengals, man, they're on an ATS heater. They're on a straight up heater. This is a team that believes it can win the Super Bowl. Lau Collins' injury is a big problem. That defense is pretty good, though, and I think we'll see a bunch of points in this one. It probably comes down to whoever's got the ball last, but I think it's just disrespectful to make the Bills a favorite here against a team that can take them head to head. They look. This is a team that's taking the Chiefs. They can beat anybody. Joe Burrow in primetime in a game like this with the lights on and as bright as possible, I will take Joe Burrow 10 times out of 10. No disrespect to the great Josh Allen. Bengals, best bet for me. All right. Quick hitters. Broncos at the Chiefs minus 12.5 for KC, over under 45, Pete.
Yeah, look, Denver's a disaster. Kansas City hasn't looked great in the last month, but I think they look great here. I think they rolled Denver. Denver's packed it in. The coach is gone. They hired a guy who's 80 years old. He's got a few more years on me, barely.
Who wasn't on the coaching staff when the season started.
He was a consultant. I'm going to take the Chiefs minus the 12.5. I don't love it. Not a best bet.
This line jumped 3.5 points after Denver's disaster against the Rams. It was 10 on the look headline, jumped to 13.5. That was too much for the market. I kind of wanted to play it if it got to 14 with Denver because coach firings kind of help, especially really bad coaches. Want to play a big dog in the first week with the interim coach. But the line's already dropped 1 point. I didn't want to play it with Denver at 12.5. I think their defense could have they had forced 3 picks in week 14 and kept it close there. And turnovers like that, if Kansas City can do it again, it makes covering a big spread hard. So big total of a big spread of 12.5 for a small total of 45. I think Denver covering is the most likely scenario.
If Denver covers and forces a bunch of picks, that turns Monday night into a real spicy MVP race potential game with the Bill. Like if Mahomes sort of comes back to the pack, he's pretty far out right now, right, Pete?
Yeah, he's the winner.
Okay.
I mean, unless he goes 5 interceptions in the last 2 weeks, that he's winning it.
That would be pretty bad. All right.
What if the Chiefs lose one of these two and they end up Can they end up with a 3 seed? I mean, what if they're like, oh man, they were competing for the 1 seed the whole time and they end up like the 3 seed? People.
Do you see that happening, RJ?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't see them almost losing to Houston, but they're not playing that well.
Yeah, they're not losing. Was it Denver and the Raiders?
Yeah, probably not losing. If they do, if they didn't get the 1 seed, would you consider?
They're going to lose to the Broncos and Stidham.
Who knows?
Stranger things have happened.
Well, if they do, then you're going to have to rethink your MVP vote.
It depends. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to consider what if Allen's the 1 seed? Is he the MVP? No. Is Burrow the MVP if he's the 1 seed?
Maybe.
What about Justin Jefferson as the
stop
MVP?
it. All right, moving along. Bears at the Lions, -6, over under 52. I'm going to go and tell you, Pete, this is my square over of the week. Give me the best bet. There's no defense in this game. Detroit on that fast track against that Bears team. Justin Fields wants the rushing record. He might get it in this game. He needs 195. He might lock it down in this game. Give me the over as a best bet.
I'm going to take the Lions. I don't love the game, but I'll take the Lions minus the points. Not a best bet for me. By the way, McKinnon can set a record and the Chiefs love to set records. If he scores a touchdown, he'd be the first guy since the 70s, or even before the 70s, to have a touchdown having a touchdown in 5 straight games, I think it is.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty incredible when you think about that.
Yeah.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to flick
get
him
the
one
ball.
of the shovel passes on the
Yeah. That's right.
Guaranteed.
And my power ratings have this line at 7, but I don't know if I can trust Detroit to stop a backdoor cover. That defense fell apart. Shocking that they face planted completely as a rush defense against Carolina. They gave up 250 rush yards to Chicago earlier in the year. So maybe this matchup is trouble. Chicago's defense has allowed 25 plus points in 8 straight games. So Detroit at home is going to score a bunch too. I like the over. I didn't want to play with it creeping up a little too high for me, but it is definitely a lean for me.
All right. Saints at Eagles. Eagles -5.5, over under 44. This line jumped up to 6, and the total jumped up to 50. Oh, that's a different game. I am flipping back and forth from Slack. My fault. I was like 50. It jumped up. It's 8 points. It wouldn't surprise me if it jumped to 6 though, because Jalen Hurts was just spotted throwing at practice on Thursday afternoon for the Eagles. I have no clue if he's going to play. Wouldn't be surprised if this game comes off the board fairly soon. Could be off the board right now, which is why it's not up on the screen. I have no idea, but just worth noting, Pete, when you think about this game, Jalen Hurts still possible to play, but the Eagles have been really fishy about this injury.
Yeah, I would take the Eagles here, and Saints are playing well on defense. They played well last week on defense, but consecutive road games. They still have an outside shot to the playoffs too. By the way,
6.5. By the way,
yeah, I don't love this game, but that's why I didn't put it in anything. But I have the Eagles -6.5.
Look ahead was 5.5. Line jumped to 7 for some reason. Even though Saints won and the Eagles really battled some turnover problems with Minshew, even though he had a relatively good day. It was an awful day for the Philly defense. Had to lead versus the pass and struggle versus the run. They had the vice versa trouble there because they could not stop the pass at all in that game. New Orleans offense 6th in pass yards per play, so they are actually pretty solid in the pass game. But that needs Chris Olave to play because Jarvis Landry's on the IR. So if Olave's not in this offense, I don't really love the pass offense as much. But if Hurts is out and Olave does play, 6.5 is too much for me. Saints are likely the right side, but it's not a play you can lock in right now.
Man, I need Chris Olave not to play in this game. I've got Garrett Wilson to lead the all rookies in receiving yards. He jumped him 2 weeks ago, and then of course he got a free week last week, but didn't really produce. It's a lot, Zach Wilson. So I do what's right by Olave. Let's sit him. Don't play him in this game. I don't think you take anything as a best bet right now, not knowing the deal with Hurts. If Hurts is in, what are you gritted about, Pete? If Hurts is in, what?
Telling Chris Olave to sit out.
Do what's best for you and your family, Chris Olave.
He's mimicking you, Pete. You got to take your health into account. You're saying that with Tua. Like Olave's got to take his health into account.
You need to pull yourself out of this game, Chris Olave, for me and my family. Do what's right for my family, Olave. Yeah, I don't think you take anything in this game. Finally, San Francisco 49ers at the Raiders. Future Carolina Panthers quarterback Derek Carr, brother of David Carr, former Panthers quarterback, a.k.a. Mr. Mittens, benched for the rest of the season, basically so they can save $40 million and pursue Tom Brady in the offseason. Hard to imagine the Raiders trying particularly hard in this game, knowing what the team is doing with their quarterback, Pete.
You say Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Don't they have a sign outside their facility that says no crying quarterbacks? Remember? Oh, he cried. He showed all the emotion. Look at what a run they're on right now.
Therefore, you're going to get blocked by the whole family, just like me.
I don't care. I mean, look, the bottom line is he's an average quarterback making a boatload of money, and that's a problem. And so I get what the Raiders are doing. I don't, you don't want to risk that money if you're getting rid of him. I understand it. You're out of the playoffs, so why play him? But it's not going to sit where it hasn't sat well in that locker room. You can tell that. They almost think they're throwing in the towel. So everybody else is going to throw in the towel. I'll take the Niners minus the 10.
Yeah, 10 too much for me. When I thought Carr was playing, I kind of liked it at 6.5, because San Francisco's had no trouble covering with Purdy. But I don't know what to expect with Stidham here. I mean, he does have a little history with McDaniels coming over from New England there, so maybe he can operate this offense a little bit better. But elite San Francisco run defense takes away the Vegas strength. We know they want to run the ball. But San Fran's also allowed over 275 pass yards just once all year to Kansas City. And their offense had 6 yards per play even without McLeod's big touchdown last week. And that's against a solid Washington defense. So San Francisco's just playing too well to get in front of that train. Laying 10 on the road is tough for me, though. I couldn't do it with San Francisco. I would have to lean Vegas, but I'm not going to play them.
Yeah, you can't play Stidham in this spot. I mean, look, the reason why they're not playing, they benched Derek Carr here is they know Nick Bosa is going to get like 3 or 4 sacks as he's trying to lock down Defensive Player of the Year. And if one of those sacks ends up with Derek Carr falling on his collarbone and breaking it, they're stuck with him and $40 million. I mean, that's like the bottom line. That's what
he's going to be the Defensive Player of the Year anyways.
Yeah, he probably will, but he can lock it up this week with a big game against the
What's his sack number right now? It's 18.
Is it 18?
Isn't it?
Don't know.
I think it's 18.
I can tell you in 1 second.
But here's the thing, whatever it is,
17.5.
It should be 18.5 because Carson Wentz came into that game and he had him on the ground and he flicked it to the running back. It should have been 18.5. I mean, the guy's having a phenomenal season. He's the engine. I know everybody loves talking about Warner and how great those guys are.
Bosa makes that defense go.
Bosa makes it go.
Yep.
Period.
Okay. Do we happen to have, Billy, a list of our running best bets available in visual form? Since, yes, Billy, Pete's best bets, because I can't access the rundown right now because I can't remember my old password. Typical me. Pete has a teaser with the Texans plus 10.5, the Chargers minus 0.5, has the Panthers plus 3, the Jets plus 1.5, a teaser with the Steelers plus 8, and the Giants
minus 1. I think it's minus 1.
Minus 1.5, yeah, on the Jets.
Yeah. Excuse me, Jets minus 1.5. Yep. Teaser with the Steelers plus 8 and the 8.5, and the Giants is a pick 'em. Packers minus 3.5, Bills minus 1. RJ has the Cardinals plus 3.5, Miami plus 3. Tampa Bay minus 3, Baltimore minus 2.5, and a teaser with Cleveland plus 8 and Seattle plus 7.5. I have as my best bets the Cardinals excuse me. Yeah, I have the Cardinals plus Cardinals plus 3.5. Pardon. Cardinals plus 3.5. I have the Seahawks plus 1.5. I have the Packers minus 3.5 and the Steelers plus 2.5. The Bengals plus 1 and the Bears Lions over 52. No look aheads. So we will call it a day. It's now turned, this sunroom has turned into a sauna room. And I want to get out of it as fast as possible and go dive into a frozen lake. Great show. Week 17. Only 1 week of best bets left, and then we get to do playoff contest. Can't wait. Season's almost over. Refreshed, renewed. For Pete Prisco, for RJ White, I'm Brinson. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.